This conference will now be recorded.
So first, let's understand what is DevOps, right? I mean, it is nothing new for you for sure, but let me put it in my own words as well. Okay, DevOps is not a new term basically. Okay, or a new process. Okay, I mean, at least for myself, I started doing this automation back in 2005 itself. Okay, we used to do this. Application build and deployments automatically using Perl scripts or Python scripts back in 2005 itself. But the only missing thing those days were the tools. We didn't have any tools to do this automation of build and deployments of the applications. Okay, everything was a script. Okay, either in Python or in Perl. Okay, and also I mean, there were no defined processes where each and everyone is knowing basically. Every company or every team has their own process to do build and deployments. Not all the best practices are, documented and not available on internet, right? So everybody has their own, methodology or processes to do the automation of build and deployments. So and DevOps came into picture. I mean, the term, not the work basically. The term came into picture, back in 2007 or 8, and slowly it became very famous, right? So they given, I mean, multiple people given multiple definitions, right? So this is very famous, right? DevOps automates software development and release management processes, resulting in a more optimized processes, thus cost savings. So right, in IT or in any industry, right, cost is the most important factor. If you are not getting a benefit, then people don't do it. So similarly, why we are doing the DevOps? It is to simplify your processes and to make your processes faster and efficient, so that you can build and deploy and manage your applications in an efficient manner. And every team will follow the same processes. Maybe some teams may tailor it to their needs a little bit, but most of the times it will be almost similar. So when you do a standardized automation across your teams, across your organization, using predefined steps and automation steps and processes, obviously company will get cost savings, right? How the cost savings will come? It is because of the number of hours that your team spends basically. Let us say before automation you may spend 1 or 2 days to prepare the release documentation. That means how to deploy, where to deploy, such kind of things, right? That is the release document. So you may spend 1 or 2 days for each release in your application. But once you automate all these things, what happens? It is one time effort, right? After that it is just a matter of couple of clicks, right? You hardly spend 15-20 minutes for your release. So before automation, probably if your team is having 10 people, or 10 people will be waiting for you for the build and deployment. That means more than 80 hours are getting wasted during the build and release processes for your application. After this process, only 15 to 20 minutes are getting spent by your team basically. So that's how your number of hours spent by teams are reducing. That means your cost savings are increasing. So it's all inversely proportional, right? So that's what DevOps. So standardized software development and release management processes to build and deploy your application to any environment. Okay, that's the reason you see this diagram everywhere, right? So DevOps is the center. That means it is a standardized processes. Okay, so across your development people, operations people, and testing people, everyone is involved in your DevOps engagement. And what we do in this DevOps. So we optimize the processes, culture, and tools. When we say processes, it's all about how you do build and deployment, how do you manage code, how do you manage requirements, and how do you manage your environment. Okay, So requirements means someone creates some user stories or epics or features in their Excel sheet or somewhere else. But there should be a process to manage these requirements as well. And tools, you need a tools to build and deploy, to manage your requirements, to manage your code, to manage your environment. And culture, it's all about sharing. So that is the reason you see this diagram, right? Everything is connected here. If teams are working in silos, means in their own way, then DevOps will not work. Everyone has to share their information and have to collaborate with each other with these optimized processes in place. Okay, when you have all those things, these are the results that are going to come in, right? So the scalability, that means for you, for a DevOps guy, scalability means you will be able to build and deploy hundreds of applications in a week or in a day. That's the scalability for a DevOps guy. For an application development guy, means for an application developer or an architect, the scalability means uh, how well the websites are working when the load is increasing. Let us say, just give an example, right? You are using IRCTC, okay? uh, how fast it is when 1,000 people are accessing that application, how fast it is when 1 lakh people are using IRCT. That is the scalability for the application development or development people or your project manager. For you, scalability means how many applications will you be able to build and deploy in a day. I'm just giving an example. Speed is again, okay, before automation, how much time it is taking for you to build and deploy your application to any environment. After automation, how much time it is taking. Visibility, who is doing what, okay, what requirements are getting released in a particular released to any environment. How many bugs are there? What binaries are there? This is all about visibility. Reliability, how reliable your build and deployments are. Is there any issue in any one of your build and deployment process or tool? Availability, you have it will increase availability here again with respect to the websites or your application. That means when you use DevOps, right, you are using predefined processes and automation scripts here, right? So which ensures that your application is available all the time uh, in any environment, because we will be using some monitoring tools to monitor your application, right? It ensures that application is available 365 days, 24 by 7 basically. Cost, because you are automating, you are getting the cost optimization or cost savings. So this is all, I mean, these are all the results or benefits that any company will get out of DevOps when they implement in a perfect way, or at least a near perfect way. Any questions here?
Yeah, one question from me.
Yeah.
So you said application monitoring, right?
Right.
So does it means we have some kind of feature where we check whether the application is up and running round the clock?
Yeah. So first, let's understand this one. When we say DevOps, right, it's not a tool; it's a process, right? It's a predefined processes. You call it as a DevOps. To
Yeah.
implement DevOps, you need a tools. Okay, you need a tools for CI/CD. You need a tool for monitoring. You need tool for code management. You need tool for requirements management. So DevOps is a methodology, and it has to be implemented by using tools or scripts, whatever is available for you. Okay, when you say a tool for monitoring, right, yes, there has to be a tool to monitor your applications. Otherwise, how do you know which part of your application is having some issue? How do you notify your tech support people about the issues in your application? How do you ensure the users are not getting error messages? Okay, otherwise, if you go back to 10 years ago, right, even the applications from bigger companies as well shows the error information on the web page. But if you see from the last 3 4 years, we don't see such kind of things on the web page, right? Even if the web page is having some issue, you probably see some message that the website is under maintenance or etc. But it will not show you the errors that a developer see it from their IDE, right? Like Visual Studio. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
One more question.
Yeah,
So when we host an application, there are chances that application will be accessed from around the globe, from different
correct,
regions.
correct.
So when we say monitoring, does it take this into consideration? Like it will check whether the application is accessible from a specific region or not, because the internet connectivity would be better in the west, whereas it wouldn't be that better in the eastern countries. So
Yeah. So,
maybe someone is
mm,
working from India and someone is working from US, and the
right.
application is hosted somewhere on the cloud. And users in India are facing issues, but not those who are in Europe or US are not facing any issues. So does
Right.
this monitoring help in identifying these issues?
Okay. So there are a couple of things right here. It's not a single question. There are for this question there are multiple answers to be cloud, right? Okay. Answer one, right? Your monitoring tool will not take care of your application availability across the globe. It's not the responsibility of the your monitoring tool. Okay. Let us say there are many monitoring tools. Right? We will talk about that in the later slides. Okay. The responsibility of your monitoring tool is that recording your exceptions and notifying your defined users. Maybe it is tech supporting your project managers, your stakeholders, any of your stakeholders. Okay. And it is proactive as well. If you use the latest features of your monitoring tool based on the previous issues, it will predict as well. I mean, if you take latest tools, right, they will have some AI/ML models built in as well. Okay. It will predict the issue, and it will notify the you I mean stakeholders much before the issue happens, basically. Okay. So your monitoring tool will not take care of that one. Your architecture have to take care of that one. Means your infrastructure architect and your application architect or solution architect, whoever is responsible for this application, they have to take care of this availability. That means your if you are using, I mean, they have to use load balancers, they have to use some other tools to ensure that the application is available or getting I mean deployed in multiple zones. I mean these are all cloud terminology. So that you know so let us say I deploy my application in India region. Okay. Let us say in Mumbai data center. Okay. Then what happens, the people who are accessing from US might be having a response time of 1 second or 2 seconds, but people who are accessing from India might be having response time of less than one second. Okay. But how do you ensure that everyone will have the response time of less than 1 second? So that depends on the infrastructure architecture and the application architecture. So people have to use deploy these front ends or your services in multiple zones. Okay. Or they have to use some kind of tools like CDN, I mean content delivery networks. They have to use traffic manager kind of tools that is available in Azure cloud if you are using Azure. Okay. There are multiple ways to make your application available across the globe with defined response times. Okay. It's all about architecture, not about your DevOps. So for you as a DevOps guy, it doesn't matter how the application is architected. Your responsibility is all about build and deploying your applications in a defined fashion, on demand deployments as well. But we really don't care how the application is architected because it's not in your hands.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we move on?
Hi Purna, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Exactly like the will you able to differentiate exactly how DevOps, the process which we follow is different to that of the present, like this building and testing.
Right.
building the
See.
code and testing, because I mean, like, I'm not into development, uh, as
Mm,
I
mm,
told you
mm.
already. So exactly, like, where the difference comes. Okay, okay, the results what you have told is fine, but exactly the where the results come, and I mean, this process, the tools are far better than the tools that now the developers are using for developing as well as building, testing, so that
Right.
can I be
That's right.
this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. So, see, the basis for any automation is your manual steps, isn't it? If there is no manual work, there is no automation,
yeah,
isn't it?
okay,
Okay. So, so obviously, what we will be doing, not just as right. Anybody who is going to work on automation should be knowing the manual steps. Okay. So throughout the training, I mean, first we need to understand what are the manual steps for any
yeah,
work and how we automate. So you will understand the not only understanding the difference, but that is the
okay,
basis for you. I mean, if no one is doing any manual step, then there is no need of automation, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that will be there. You will clearly understand, okay, what are the manual steps and what we are automating, how we are automating basically.
Okay.
So why Azure DevOps, right? Okay, because uh, if you look into the market, right, there are hundreds of tools for doing CI/CD, for managing your code, for managing your requirements, for doing monitoring, for collaboration as well. There are hundreds of tools in the market, and there are very few tools which are very famous. I'm sure many of you people know, JMeet, Jenkins as a CI/CD tool. Okay, and you might know some of unit testing tools, Dockers and Kubernetes, some SCM tools, like, I mean, I mentioned all these things. If you see continuous integration here, right? Okay, in continuous integration, you have a Jenkins, you have a TeamCity, you have a cruise control, Bamboo, all these comes under the continuous integration. Okay, these are the main tools which will build and deploy your applications. And for unit testing, for Java people, they use JUnit. For .NET developer, they use NUnit. Right now, it is a MS unit testing tools, etc. And for your code quality, means the effectiveness of your the code developed by developers, right? Whether it is for the best practices or not. You have many tools for that. Sonar Cube, many people know it. Veracode, AppScan, like this. And similarly for build tools, build and deployment. If you are a .NET guy, you use MS Build. I mean, of course, you don't need to use it explicitly, but your Visual Studio will take care of it when you build the application. Okay, inside it will use MS Build. If it is a Java, it use Maven, like this. Okay, and testing, there are hundreds of tools, right? But again, the famous tools are, JMeter, Soap UI, and people might know HP Load Runner. It's been famous since more than a decade, right? Okay, and you have Selenium, etc. And then under the source code management, I call it as SCM. Okay, source control management or source code management. You have many things like, Git, everybody knows it, and you have VSTS, okay, which is the latest, and TF is the older one, and you have GitHub, etc. Okay, and environment provisioning means to create an infrastructure. Okay, once the infrastructure available, then only you can go and deploy your applications, right? For infrastructure provisioning, okay, if it is a cloud, you can use Ansible, Pivotal Cloud Foundry. PCF is another stack where you go and deploy the applications, and you can use a Puppet, Chef. These are all different tools that people use to create environments like your servers, networks, etc. And for log management and monitoring, so you have many tools here, Splunk, and everybody knows it, I guess. Splunk, okay, and New Relic, etc. These are the some of the tools. And under project management and collaboration, you have your Confluence, okay, and then you have Jira, you have ServiceNow. So you have hundreds of tools like that, and some tools are very famous, and uh, so some of these tools are there in each and every organization. If I tell you, Jenkins will be there in each and every organization. SonarQube will be there in each and every team and organization. Okay, and then JMeter definitely be there. SOAP UI, some companies, most of the companies use for testing the APIs, basically web services. And Git, the entire world uses Git, right? Okay. If you are not using, why I am showing this one, because you also need to know, when you go to interviews, right? You also need to have some knowledge about other tools as well, along with your specified tools, where you say I have expertise or experience in a such tool, right? You need to know other tools as well. That's the reason I'm showing you all these things. Okay. So there are different types of DevOps tools, or not only DevOps, in any category you have a number of tools. Okay. In DevOps, as I told you, it's a combination of tools and processes. Okay. For CI CD you use one tool, or for CI use one tool, CD you use one tool. There's continuous integration and continuous deployment. This is just acronym I'm using, CI CD. And for testing you use different tools. For SCM you use different tools. So if you don't have a platforms like Azure DevOps, right? What happens in your company? Every team may use a different tool to do the same DevOps, or every team may use a different process to do the same DevOps. Okay, that's the reason people, I mean, company, I mean, organizations are started using platforms like Azure DevOps, so that each and every team or in their or portfolio in their organization will be using the same set of tools. What is the advantage for them? The advantage is a license cost, and the other one is the time it takes to train the people. If you are using 10 tools for the CI/CD, then the organization need to use 10 different people to train the DevOps guys or developers. But if it is a single tool across or single platform across the team, they need to spend only some time to train the people. So if you take Azure DevOps, right? Azure DevOps is a platform basically. You can call it as a software as a service. Okay, we will talk about what is a software as a service, or a platform as a service, okay, or infrastructure as a service. There are three different types of areas like that. We'll explain you in the later sessions. Okay. So if you are using Azure DevOps, it covers the functionalities of all these tools in the continuous integration area, and it covers all the functionalities of in the testing area. It covers all the functionalities of these tools in the source control management. Similarly for the environment management. Okay. Similarly for log management and monitoring. Similarly for your collaboration. Okay, but you may say, Puna, when Azure DevOps is providing all these capabilities of these tools, then why companies are not going with Azure DevOps only? Guys, it's not just a capability of a tool or a cost, right? It's about teams as well. If your teams don't like or don't have expertise in Azure DevOps, they don't go with that. Okay. In some companies, there are people who don't like even Microsoft as well. I mean, it's not a joke. There are many companies who don't like Microsoft, or many people. Obviously, they don't go with Microsoft stack, which is Azure DevOps or Azure Cloud. Okay, so there are several reasons why people don't go with it. Or some people say, "Hey, I'm using Java. I'm comfortable with Jenkins. I will let me go with this." So there are different perceptions about it basically. I mean, not only just Azure DevOps, it can be with any tool as well. Some people may say, okay, I don't like Jenkins, I'll go with TeamCity or Bamboo because I'm comfortable with that. Okay, there are many aspects why people go with the different tools and technologies. But if you go to any matured organization, it's all about cost. They will see, hey, if I use this tool, am I able to address all of my issues in the DevOps area or the software development area, and how much I am going to save out of it. This is how it happens in the matured organizations. Okay. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. So why Azure DevOps, right? So those are some, political aspects of any tool that I talked about. But these are all the technical or capabilities of Azure DevOps. Why we should go with Azure DevOps? The first thing, it is cloud native. Cloud native means the Azure DevOps platform is completely on the cloud, Azure cloud. Okay, you don't need to install anything on your laptop or on any machine to implement the DevOps for any one of your applications. It's the moment you subscribe, you have everything ready. You can go and create your CI/CD pipelines, manage your code, etc. And you don't need to worry about availability of your Azure DevOps platform, right? It is taken care of the Microsoft itself, so you don't need to put any efforts for the maintenance as well. So it's completely cloud native. Now Azure DevOps, right, started supporting Java, PHP, Node.js, and many other languages as well. Uh, the predecessor of Azure DevOps platform is a VSTS. Before VSTS, people used to call it as a TFS. Okay, since you already .NET guys, okay, TFS used to support only .NET, right? It doesn't support Java, Java, Node.js, etc. VSTS also the same thing. Okay, that's the reason it didn't reach most of the development community or the organizations in the world. I mean, it was only constrained to only the Microsoft guys. Okay, now that's where Microsoft took this step, and they named it as Azure DevOps, and they enhanced the VSTS and started supporting all these different programming languages as well, and that's where the entire world started looking at Azure DevOps, because Microsoft is known for easy documentation, and it is known for a easy learning curve as well. You don't need much effort to learn any one of the Microsoft tools and technologies. Okay, that's the reason everybody is now behind Azure DevOps. And the rapid growth in plugins. See, for any platform, for it to be successful, right? You need a development community, a developer community who actively contribute to the framework for plugins basically. Okay, if there are not many plugins available, that means everyone has to develop their own uh, you know uh, uh, scripts or reusable components, right? But you have a lot of developer community, people will come and create reusable components so that other people can use it. So you will have a lot of time saving as well. Similarly, even Azure DevOps now, since Microsoft made it, made .NET as a open source, right? I guess 2.5 years ago, many developers started contributing to the frameworks as well. Okay, and it's easy to use. And the last one is flexible pricing. It is for the companies. Okay, Microsoft is known for discounts for the organizations. They will make it cheaper basically for the organizations. And finally, if somebody doesn't want to use cloud native version of your Azure DevOps, cloud native means which is available on the cloud, they can have it on the on-premise as well. On-premise means in your own data center. See, the need for on-premise is very less, because if you are having Azure DevOps platform on-premise, that means you are losing the benefits of maintenance, etc. Means if you are installing in your own data center, you are responsible for your software upgrades, you are responsible for hardware, you are responsible for your networking, maintenance, etc. You lose many benefits of your cloud native Azure DevOps. Okay, but there might be some companies like some government organizations or some security organizations where they don't want to keep their data in the cloud because of some organization security. I mean, or government regulations or some other thing. Basically, there are many restrictions. In that case, they may go with on-premise, but it is very negligible. At least I haven't heard of clients who are using on-premise. There might be some people, at least to my knowledge, I don't know. Okay. So these are the benefits of Azure DevOps. Okay, guys. Since you are starting, you need to know some of these basic issues as well. Why companies are implementing DevOps since last 7-8 years, right? And now DevOps became an integral part of any company. Without DevOps, you don't see any project in many of the companies now. You will have at least some exposure to the DevOps, at least to the CI/CD, at least to the CD basically. I mean continuous deployment. Okay, these are the issues uh, uh, why companies are going for DevOps. The first one is, these are not complete list, but this is, most likely available in many companies. I mean, in terms of issues, basically. So lack of agile adoption across heterogeneous technologies, increased development cost, no standardized procedures to provision, test, and ability to shift left. Okay, this might look little complex. In a simpler words, if I have to say, people, if you don't have DevOps in place, the teams will not be able to build and deploy applications quickly. And since there are no standardized processes and procedures, it will take, I mean, each and every team will follow their own process and methodology, and it will increase the cost of their development and testing, etc. Okay, limited business insights about cost, benefits, and return on investment. Your organization doesn't have any clue how much amount or how much they are spending on each and every team, basically, because it's all about manual. Nobody will be there to mention this is what I'm spending for release and build and release tasks. Nobody will tell you. But for the development, like, for a user story, how much they are going to spend, they will tell you, but they will not tell you how much they are going to spend for for build and deployment activities, because that comes under tech support. So if you have tools in place and processes in place, everything is recorded. Organizations will come to know how much they are spending and how much they are getting in back in terms of return on investment. The third one is non-production environments causes delays, increase cost, and impact quality. So you have different environments, right? You will have a development environment, testing environment, and a UAT environment, and finally you have the production environment. Most of the times, what happens? Your code, you will deploy code in development environment, it works there. When you deploy that code into the testing environment, it will not work. Why? Because there are some environment issues. Your OS versions might be different. The softwares that are running on different machines might be different. Your network rules might be different. There are a number of reasons for your code to fail. And similarly, if code is working in development and testing environment, it may not work in UAT environment. These are the reasons you see it in many of the companies, in many of the teams, the same issues, because you don't have a standardized automation process and procedures. You will get into those issues. If you have a DevOps, everything is automated, everything is predefined, and every environment looks similar. Okay, you will avoid those issues. And end-to-end traceability across the systems in the organization. That means if you don't have DevOps, what happens? Let us say you are trying to, I will take some example, like, you are Amazon, right? So of course, Amazon doesn't get any issues. If you take a make my trip, or IRCTC, etc., right? Let us say you are trying to search for something, you may get some error saying that temporarily this feature is not available, or something went wrong in the in the application. That's such kind of message you will get. So when an issue occurs, how much time it takes for a developer to understand the root cause of the issue, to figure out the actual code where it is failing. Okay, it may take 1 day, 1 week, or in 1 hour as well, based on the effectiveness of your developers. Okay, if you don't have a traceability. But if I have a traceability established using DevOps, what happens? The moment I see some error in any page of my application, I will be able to tell, hey, these are the this is the function, or this is the method in my code which is causing this issue, or this is the stored procedure in my database causing the issue. I will be able to tell you immediately. I see an issue on the web page, because I will link all these requirements like user stories with the code. I will link code with my server. I'll link my server with binaries. Means once you build, you will get the binaries like exes, DLLs, etc. Okay, so you address those root cause. You will make it faster, basically root cause analysis. Okay, finally, if you are doing completely manual, if you don't have DevOps, you cannot simply upgrade to latest and greatest technologies. talk about in detail all these things while we are doing the labs basically. Okay, but we just need to remember these things. And by implementing DevOps, your release velocity is getting improved. Release velocity means how many releases or how many deployments you can do in a day, or you can do in an hour, or you can do in a week or month. That is called release velocity. Business and IT structure means it is very structured, both business guys and IT guys. Customer satisfaction. Since you are addressing the issues of the customer in advance by using your monitoring tools or by using your immediate fixes to your bugs on the application, right? Your customer satisfaction obviously improved. What are the business benefits? It's all about cost savings, and even the customer satisfaction is also a business benefit, right? If the customers are happy, they will repeatedly coming back to your application. So these are the some of the issues uh, that DevOps address, and that's why companies are implementing DevOps in their companies. Any question?
Yeah, one question.
Yeah,
Few minutes ago, you said you would be able to tell where the issue is, like
correct,
whether it was because of a stored procedure or something like that, right?
correct.
Yeah, that can be told only if some error is thrown by the code, right? Or do we have feature other than that?
So it's a process. I need to implement the process. How I will implement? Let me tell you. First of all, let us say you have some search for train functionality. If it is IRCTs, right? Search for trains. Okay. For that, you will have some user story created in your Jira or somewhere. Okay. And what I do when developers are writing the code and pushing their code to any source control management tool like a Git or your your VSTS or TFS, whatever it is, the latest. Okay, I will put a condition that they have to link the user story ID with the code what they are pushing. And I will put another condition whenever they are building the application, right, in Visual Studio or in the CI tool, they have to integrate that code with the build as well. And I'll put the similar condition for the deployment, and I'll put the similar condition for the monitoring tools as well. So when something goes in my application in any page, right, I clearly know what is this page related to in my requirement. So the page is linked with my requirement, the requirement is linked with your code. So obviously it takes a matter of minutes for your developer to see which code is giving the issue. I can clearly see in my monitoring tool as well. Let us, if you are using New Relic, I can directly open the code in New Relic directly, basically whatever is there in the SCM. If I implement this traceability process, I will show you, I will tell you in action when we are
So
working on it.
let us
Yeah,
assume there are five functions that were configured in a page.
correct.
So with this linking option which you just said, so whenever there
Hmm.
was an issue in the page, when even let us assume the page threw an error when the page loaded itself. So
Hmm.
we may not identify the exact root cause, but we would be landing in a situation where we can assume the error is among one of these five functionalities. That is what you're saying.
No, no, no. You will exactly figure it out. Let us say if you are using New Relic. So my binaries are being monitored. Binaries means your DLLs, right? If it is a .NET,
Yes.
is being monitored by your New Relic tool. Basically, any monitoring tool monitoring your application means monitoring your binaries, basically, under traffic. Okay. When something goes in your page, right? I can log into the New Relic and it will show me the path, actually the page, uh, the let us say your search page is coming from which HTML or which CSHTML, and CSHTML is having which code behind the page, means code behind means your actual code, your C sharp code, and that C sharp code is also getting pointed where this issue is happening. Let us say when if you are using Visual Studio, okay, You are developing, you are trying to test your code, right? When you click on build, it will clearly take you to the function, right, where it is failing. It will show you, right, with red mark. I'm sure if you are a developer, then you definitely come across that. It will
Yeah,
clearly
when
show you, yeah,
yes, if
when
we
you
have
build
an
it.
error, when we build the solution, it will throw an error.
Exactly. The similar functionality is carry forwarded to your monitoring tools as well. It will exactly tell you where the issue is there. Okay, it will tell you these are the number of, this is the line where the issue started. So that's how your developer root cause analysis time is getting reduced. There are many ways to do it. Okay, I'm just giving you bits and pieces, but a number of ways you need to, you have end-to-end traceability to be established basically. But it will
Okay.
clearly tell you. Now I am telling you New Relic, right? You can go and search on the internet, right? New Relic root cause analysis. If you say like that, you will get the relevant articles. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I just don't want to spend much time on this one. So you have these different types of, I mean, phases of SDLC, right? Software development lifecycle: requirement analysis, design, build, deploy, test, and release. Okay, and you do a lot of manual steps. I just given some examples here, right, where, I mean, which is known to many people, right? The reason behind I put together this simple diagram is that you need to have a DevOps implemented across all these phases. A requirement analysis, you need to use some tool, and there are some processes to be implemented to make your life simpler and effective. And design, you need to use something. Build and deployment, you need to use some tools to automate these processes. And test and release, so these are all the some of the manual steps that I implement. Let us say code development, manual management of code, manual code reviews, manual unit testing, manual deployments, okay, manual testings, manual communication, email, when you are testing or when you are building a deployment, or manual notifications, or manual workflows, like somebody has to approve your deployment, right, to be happening. Okay, so these are different manual things that happens across your SDLC phases. So we need to address all of these issues using DevOps. That means for each and every phase you have uh, uh, a criteria in your DevOps as well to address these manual issues. It's not an issue, manual steps basically. So what are the different building blocks available in DevOps to address the manual steps across all the SDLC pages? So continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous testing, continuous monitoring, release management, and smart environments. Okay, it all these six building blocks of your DevOps addresses the manual steps across your SDLC pages: requirement analysis, design, build, and deployment, and then I would say coding basically in regular manner, coding and operations. All those issues or manual steps are getting addressed by all these different building blocks of DevOps. Okay, this is in general. Whether you use a Jenkins, whether you use a Bamboo, whether you use AWS, whatever is the tool or platform you're going to use, these are the building blocks that you are going to implement using those tools or platforms. And these are getting addressed in Azure DevOps by using these different available features in Azure DevOps platform. You have Azure Repos for the code management. You have Azure Pipelines for CI/CD, means continuous integration and continuous deployment. You have Azure Artifacts for the dependency management. There is a concept called dependency management, like how effectively you manage your reusable components across your organization. And Azure Test Plans, of course, Microsoft has given this Microsoft Test Plans, Azure Test Plans, but I would say very negligible people, set of people use this one, because people are already effective in using other tools basically. You don't see, I would say 0.001% people are using Azure Test Plans. but still we talk about it because it is a part of your Azure DevOps platform. And Azure Boards, this is very nice and one of the effective ways to manage your requirements. Basically, it is equivalent to Jira in other platforms like Jira is Atlassian company basically, Atlassian Conference, etc. So these 5 features will address all these 6 different building blocks of DevOps. These 6 different building blocks of DevOps addresses your software development lifecycle pages. Okay, so that's the association between your SDLC pages and DevOps building blocks, and then Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps is one of the ways to implement your DevOps. Make sense? So along with Azure
Yeah,
DevOps,
yes.
yeah, along with Azure DevOps, we also work on all some other areas as well, because it's not just that platform, right? You need to know other tools as well. So you will learn SonarQube in depth completely. You will learn integrating Selenium test cases with your Azure DevOps or CI/CD pipeline, because automation testers develop the automation test cases, right? As a DevOps guy, we need to integrate them with your CI/CD pipeline, and integration with other DevOps tools. So you have a GitHub, you have Azure App Services, or you have Bamboo, TeamCity, etc. So in some companies they use a combination of DevOps tools. Okay, I mean I worked on many migrations as well. Okay, some companies they've been using Jenkins for CI/CD, but they want to move to Azure DevOps. But there is reluctance from the teams. Hey, I like Jenkins. I don't want to go to Azure DevOps. Such kind of scenarios will be there. So there will be some strategies. People say Jenkins, use it only for the building the application, means CI part, or for a deployment use Azure DevOps, or vice versa. Such kind of scenarios will also be there. I will show you how it works. Okay, and then PowerShell, you will learn in depth, means you will be able to write PowerShell on your own for any given task. Okay, I mean PowerShell is not just for DevOps, right? You can do anything. You can develop some functionalities as well if you want to use it in other than the other DevOps basically. And I will also touch upon fundamentals of Docker and Kubernetes. Guys, Kubernetes another version. It is an infrastructure. People don't know, when people say Kubernetes, they think of it as a DevOps. Kubernetes is an infrastructure. So I will show you the differences as well later. Okay, so people used to have a on-premise data centers, right? Means physical servers, and then from physical servers, people move to VMware, which is a virtual environment inside your data center. From VMware kind of stuff, people move to cloud like Azure, AWS, etc. From that, people are moving to another version of your servers like Kubernetes, Dockers and Kubernetes. Dockers is nothing but minified version of your virtual machine. So for the time being, you just understand that one. So it's like your physical server, your virtual server, and then the Dockers. It is a minified version of your virtual server. Okay, I will touch upon that one as well. I will deploy some of the APIs and show it to you as well. And fundamentals of ARM templates as well. AR means Azure Resource Manager templates. This is for the infrastructure provisioning. Okay, guys, there are 2 types of DevOps people don't tell you. One DevOps for your application build and deployments. So that will be there till the time people are developing the applications. Okay, you will be part of each and every application team. The other one is the infrastructure DevOps. Infrastructure DevOps is all about creating the infrastructure. Let us say somebody needs a dev environment, somebody needs a UAT environment, somebody needs a production environment. So when you are creating environment, it doesn't mean it means that you are creating a servers, and you are creating some network elements like virtual networks, subnets, etc., and you are assigning some IP addresses, and you are installing some softwares on top of the servers. This is the infrastructure, right? In some big companies, they use automation scripts, like they may use Ansible, Chef, Puppet, etc., to create the infrastructure automatically. Okay, that is, that will be done by the infrastructure guys. Okay, so uh, that's the reason people ask me, hey, you are not teaching me Ansible, Chef, or Puppet. I say, this is the difference, guys. If you belong to the application development, you will learn the CI/CD pipeline of your application related to your applications. If you are an infrastructure guy, you want to work in the infrastructure area where you support the teams, then learn the Ansible, Chef, Puppet, etc. So ours is about application build and deployment. That means it is application DevOps. But still, I'm going to touch upon fundamentals of infrastructure DevOps, fundamentals only. So in Azure DevOps, you have a concept called ARM template, ARM. Okay, I will touch upon that. And anyways, I will talk about all these different tools, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, etc. during our conversations. But we don't learn them because they are differently complete tool sets and different area as well. Okay. So, I may touch many other things as well, but these are the things definitely you will learn. And then database DevOps as well. How to automatically build and deployment your stored procedures or tables, etc. Your database objects. And of course, I will talk about all the best practices and worst practices, the how that people use in the companies. It's all from the experience, right? And finally, this is what you're going to learn. When I say end-to-end DevOps, right? This is how it looks. Okay. You can take a screenshot. It helps you. If somebody says here, hey, what do you do in DevOps? What are the different activities that you do in a DevOps? This is what you do. So, you have different SDLC phases, right? Planning. So let's talk like this: requirement analysis, designing, coding, and operations. They are, they will fit into these areas. Planning, your requirement analysis. Coding, that will be maintained. Coding phase, you will develop the code. So that will be in the version control system, or you can call it as a source control management. And a compilation of your phase, right? Building the code will also have the compilation. That will be part of your continuous integration in the DevOps. For that, these are the different things that we do. And artifact, how do you manage your binaries? Once you compile it, you will get some binaries like DLL, exe. How do you manage them? That will be part of your artifact repository. Once you compile it, you will get the binaries. How do you deploy them to your different environment? That is part of your continuous development. And these are the different things that we do. And log management and monitoring, this is related to your tech support teams or operations teams who will monitor your applications using the tools. What are those tools? Okay, you will be doing up to continuous deployment. The log management monitoring are related to your tech support teams. Okay, DevOps guy is not a tech support guy. Basically, he will work with all the people. Okay, but I will tell you, like, recently, from the last 2 years, SRE, right, site reliability engineering, is the most famous word that people are listening to. I will cover them for you as well, but I cannot install any tools like New Relic or Dynatrace, etc., for showing you the SRE configurations. But I will guide you. You can look into some YouTube videos as well. Okay, for your reference. But you don't do it in a live environment. You are not part of this team basically. Okay, so this is the end-to-end DevOps architecture. This is what you will do it. You will learn and do it, and you implement in your real-world projects. Yes, I just would like to introduce you to the DevOps. That's the reason I covered all these things. From tomorrow, we will get into uh, the Azure DevOps areas. Whatever I talked about it generic now, which is applicable to each and every tool or platform that people are going to use. Any doubts before we wrap up?
Puna, can you go to the DevOps architecture screenshot?
Yes,
Okay. So earlier you said as a DevOps engineer, we automate the build and release management activities.
right. CI/CD,
So
and
on
along with
this,
that, along with this, you also need to configure tools for your planning and version control, right? SCM and your tools like Jira. But here it is Azure Boards that you're going to learn. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so even this will be covered as part of this training.
Yes, yes, yes. Whatever I'm showing you, right, from left to right, will be covered. Except this,
Yes.
all till CD it is in action, like labs, but log management monitoring, these are, I mean, monitoring team based, like, your tech support team, which you will not be part of because it's a 24 by 7 support team, you see, right, where people will be looking at some monitors, right, how the servers are working, how the applications are working. They look at the monitoring tools and work on them, but you are not part of this team, but you need to know what happens there as well. So right, recently, as I told you, SRE, site reliability engineering, very famous term. Though you are a DevOps guy, you don't need to work on these things, but you need to know them basically because these are all interconnected. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Wherever you go, this is the end-to-end architecture. Okay, I just want to put it in one place so that you will have a clarity. You can relate basically software development lifecycle phases, DevOps building blocks in general, and end-to-end architecture, and how they are implemented in the Azure DevOps platform.
Purna,
Yeah.
yeah, could you please give me a brief idea about what is how the CI/CD is doing? I mean, covers.
So
What is
I
CI/CD?
take it
The
very
brief, yeah.
okay. See, CI is a continuous integration. It's all about how you build your application. So let us say developer using Visual Studio, they go and build application in their laptop, right? But in the code of other, I mean, you have 10 developers, right? All 10 developers are developing the code. When you have
Okay.
to make that application available, you have to have the code of all the developers in one base, right? In one code base. Let us say you are developing search functionality. Some other developer is developing login functionality, and in such functionality itself, probably you are writing only C# code for the UI purpose. But some other database developer might be creating the tables and store procedures, etc. You need to combine all those different pieces, right? When you combine all those different pieces, you may get a DLL, and you may get some stored procedures, etc. You need to compile them together. Okay, that process is called continuous integration, and there will be some many things like unit testing. Somebody should be reviewing your code, or somebody should be packaging the code. All those things comes under continuous integration. Okay, continuous deployment means now you have the artifacts available. Here artifacts is nothing but the output of your build. Output of your build means once you compile your application, or once you build your application, compile or build both are same. Okay, once you do that, your code, let us say you written 1 lakh lines of code, all that 1 lakh lines of code will be converted into some 1 or 2 DLL or 1 DLL. So how I deploy and where to deploy, all those things will be covered in the continuous deployment. And testing, I mean automation testing, let us say you have some selenium test cases written. How do you execute them after you deploy that DLL or exe into the some server, and what configurations to be done, like your application, if it is a web application, you need to have IIS, internet information, that is a framework. If you don't have that, your application will not be available to the end users. All those things will be taken care by your continuous deployment. So I just given a end-to-end view here, but each and every item is a concept, and you need to implement it here.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going in depth because it will confuse you basically. If you go step by step, you will understand clearly.
Okay.
But keep it in mind because you need to know the target, right? What you are going to learn. That is what important. Whether you need to make a tick mark. Okay, did I cover this? Did I cover this? Did I cover this? And for you, did you learn this? Did you learn this? Did you learn this? Okay. Okay, yes. I mean, it's 1 hour already. Hopefully you got some idea and knowledge about DevOps and how it is going to benefit you.
Yes, Purna.
Okay. Okay then. Thank you, guys. We'll catch up tomorrow. I mean, if you have any doubts, ping me on WhatsApp. Okay, that's my personal number only. Whatever you have. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good day.